everybody. Today we are going to crochet this pretty sweater. I call it the Chase Your Blues Away sweater because that is exactly what it does. We are going to use the puff stitch which is explained in detail to make this pullover. It comes in sizes XS to 4XL. The written pattern for the same has been linked below along with the timestamps. This is a step-by-step beginner-friendly tutorial. This is part 1 of the tutorial. Part 2 has been linked below in the description. Hello and welcome to Let's All Crochet. Please consider subscribing for similar tutorials. Thank you. To crochet this sweater, we are going to need the following material. We can use any medium weight yarn or a weight 4 yarn. I'm going to leave the details of the amount needed in the description box below along with the sizes. I'm using Paintbox Simply Aran yarn. Each skein has 100 grams, 200 yards of yarn. It is 100% acrylic yarn. And like I said, this is a weight 4 or a medium weight yarn. So you can use any weight 4 or medium weight yarn. The shade of this yarn is 236. So this is the other material we will need. A 5.5mm or an eye-size crochet hook, scissors, measuring tape, a tapestry needle and some stitch markers. Now let's begin. So this is just a rough schematic for our sweater. We're going to make it in 4 parts. We will make a front panel and then a back panel. Both the front and the back panel are going to have a neck on top. After we finish these, we're going to join at the shoulders here and here. We're also going to make 2 sleeves and then sew them on. So we're going to begin with the front panel. We're going to make the ribbing at the bottom here first and then repeat the rows till we reach the required height. Last we will make the neck. So we are going to start by chaining this part of the ribbing. We are going to chain 15 and then continue repeating the ribbing rows till we have the size of the ribbing we need for ourselves. We are going to find the size of the ribbing that we have to make for our size. So this is very easy to do. We are going to measure around the widest part of our torso. We are going to write it down. Suppose it is 40 inches. Just divide this by 2. So that is 20 inches. And now we are going to subtract 2 from it. That is 18 inches. Now this is going to be the width of our ribbing. If you have a measurement that is an odd number, you can always round it off to the nearest even number so that it is easy to divide by 2. We are going to begin with a slip knot. We can make this however we want. So once we make our slip knot, we are going to chain 15. So no matter what size, we are going to chain 15. To chain, we are going to yarn over and then pull through. Yarn over and then pull through. This is my second chain, my third chain, my fourth chain. So we are going to continue till we have 15. So I have finished making my 15 chains. Let's begin row 1. We are going to single crochet in the second chain from the hook. So the loop on the hook does not count as a chain. We are going to skip this first V that we see, go to the second V, and this is the second chain. Insert your hook into the top loop. Then we are going to yarn over and pull through. We have 2 loops on our hook. We are going to yarn over and pull through both. So we have made our first single crochet. So we made a single crochet in this chain. We are going to go to the next chain. Insert your hook into the chain. We are going to yarn over and pull through. We have 2 loops on our hook. Yarn over and pull through both. Go to the next chain and make a single crochet. So in the same way, we are going to continue making single crochet till the end of this row. So I will meet you at the last chain. So I've made a single crochet in the last chain. Now we are going to count all our single crochet by counting the V's that we see. We are going to have 14 at the end of row 1. From now on, we are going to count our single crochet at the end of every row and we are going to have 14 single crochet. Row 2, chain 1, yarn over and then pull through and now turn the work. Now we are going to work in this direction. We know the loop on the hook does not count as a stitch. This is our chain 1 stitch. And this what we see here is our very first single crochet. We usually work below both the loops of the V like this, But for the ribbing, we are only working into the back loop. So there is a front loop that faces towards us and a back loop that faces away from us. This is the loop we are going to work into. So let's begin by making a single crochet in the first stitch into the back loop. Insert your hook, yarn over and pull through, yarn over and pull through both. In the same way, in every stitch of the previous row, we're going to make a single crochet in the back loop. We're going to work the entire ribbing only into the back loop. So I will meet you at the last stitch. So I've reached my last stitch and we have to turn our work to see this last V clearly. Right here we can see our chain stitch. So don't miss the last single crochet of the row. Insert your hook into the back loop of the V, yarn over and pull through, yarn over and pull through both. Now you want to count all your single crochet and make sure you have 14. If you want, you can always mark your first and the last stitch with a stitch marker so that you don't miss any stitches. For the rest of the ribbing, we're just going to repeat row 2 for pattern. Let's make row 3 together. We're going to chain 1 and then turn our work for row 3. The loop on the hook is not a stitch. This is our chain 1 stitch. It does not count as a stitch. Go into the first stitch into the back loop. Make your single crochet. Single crochet into the back loop of the next stitch and so on till the end of the row. I will meet you there. Be careful with the last stitch again. Turn the work to see the last stitch clearly. This is our last V. We are going to go into the back loop of the V and make a single crochet. Now you are going to count the stitches and we are going to have 14. While counting, the first single crochet may be a little hidden, so you can just spread it out with your hands like this to see it clearly. We are just going to keep repeating row 2 for pattern. Chain 1 and then turn the work. Begin with a single crochet in the back loop and we are going to continue making a single crochet in all the stitches till the very last stitch. We're going to have 14 in every row. So now we're just going to continue repeating row 2 till we have the length of the ribbing that we calculated. So I calculated 18 inches. So I'm just going to repeat row 2 till my entire ribbing measures 18 inches. We're going to end the ribbing at an odd number row. So you can end at row 79, 81, 83 or any odd number row. I will meet you once you finish. Now we should have finished this entire bottom ribbing of our sweater. As we make the rows, the sweater will become a little wider. I'm just showing you a small part of the ribbing so that it's easier to see on the camera. Make sure you end these rows at an odd number row. So whether it is 79, 81, 83, 85 and so on, it should be an odd number. So I have ended my ribbing here. For row 1, we are going to chain 1 and then continue making the row in this direction. So let's begin row 1 of the front panel. We are going to chain 1 first. So yarn over and then pull through. And now at the side of all the rows of the ribbing, we are going to make 1 half double crochet each. So let's begin with this first row of the ribbing. Yarn over. Insert your hook into the side of the very first row. Then we're going to yarn over and then pull through. We have 3 loops on our hook. We're going to yarn over and pull through all 3. So this is our first half double crochet. So this is the next row of the ribbing and at the side of this row as well, we're going to make a half double crochet. So yarn over, insert your hook into the side of the row, yarn over and pull through. We have 3 loops on our hook. We are going to yarn over and pull through all 3. So this is our second half double crochet. Now we are going to go to the third row here. Yarn over, insert your hook into the side of the third row, yarn over and pull through, yarn over and pull through all 3. So in the same way, at the side of every row of the ribbing, we are going to make a half double crochet. If we have any confusion between 2 of these ridges, we are going to have 2 rows of single crochet. So we are going to have 2 half double crochet. I will meet you at the end of this row. So if we want, we can mark this first half double crochet we made with a stitch marker, so it's easier to count at the end. So I've reached the end of the row and made a half double crochet at the side of every row of the ribbing. So I have the same number of half double crochet as the number of rows I made. I made 15 rows and I have 15 half double crochet. So your half double crochets must be an odd number. If you have an even number, don't worry, you can just add an extra half double crochet or remove the last half double crochet, whatever you want, so that you have an odd number of half double crochets at the end of row 1. Row 2, we are going to chain 2 from now. So yarn over and pull through 1 and 2 and then turn our work. We know the loop on the hook does not count as a stitch. This chain 1 and chain 2, these are the two chains that we just made. These do not count as a stitch. So we are going to turn our work a little, and this is the first half double crochet. We are going to begin working into this first stitch, and we are going to work only into the back loop. Then we are going to the next one and work only into the back loop. So make sure you turn your work to see the V's once you start working. Let's make our first half double crochet. We are going to make it here into the back loop. Yarn over, insert your hook into the back loop, yarn over and pull through, yarn over and pull through all 3. Go to the next V and insert your hook into the back loop, make your half double crochet. Go to the next V, insert your hook into the back loop and make your half double crochet. So we are going to continue in the same way till we reach the end of this row. So I will meet you there. So I've reached the end of the row and I've made my second last half double crochet. To see the last half double crochet, we're going to turn our work, and this is the last half double crochet. So if you turn your work, you can see this is the first half double crochet that we made in the previous row. There is no stitch here, or there's a single crochet and a chain 1 here. There's no half double crochet. So into the first half double crochet of the previous row, we're going to make our last half double crochet. So insert your hook into the back loop and make your half double crochet. And now you're going to count all your stitches. So you're going to have the same as row 1. So in the rest of the rows, you're going to have the same number of stitches as row 1. Let's go to the next row, or row 3. We're going to chain 2 and then turn our work. This is also a back loop half double crochet row. So the loop on the hook is not a stitch. This chain 2 does not count as a stitch. We're going to start working from this first V. Yarn over into the back loop, make your half double crochet. Yarn over into the next stitch into the back loop, make your half double crochet. Yarn over into the next stitch into the back loop, half double crochet. Continue in the same way till the end of the row and I will meet you there. At the end of the row, you want to be careful. Turn your work to see the last V. Insert your hook into the last V and make your half double crochet. Count your stitches before moving on to the next row. Row 4, we are going to chain 2 and then turn our work. Row 4 is also a half double crochet row. So we are going to make half double crochets in the back loop starting from this first stitch. 1, 2. So continue making your back loop half double crochet till the end of the row. At the end of the row, we are going to count our stitches. We can always stretch the first one out to see it clearly like this. Let's go to row 5. We're going to chain 2 and then turn our work. This is also a back loop half double crochet row. Loop on the hook is not a stitch. This is our chain 2 stitch. Start making your half double crochet from this first stitch. So we're going to make half double crochets into the back loop till the last stitch, and I will meet you once we finish. Hey guys, if you're enjoying the video so far, I'll be very grateful if you can press on the like button so this video can reach more people. Now let's continue. At the end of row 5, we're going to count our half double crochets. They're going to be the same as row 1. Now the next row is not a half double crochet row. It's going to be a puff stitch row. Row 6. This is a puff stitch row. So we're going to yarn over and pull through. We're only going to chain 1. Turn the work. The loop on the hook is not a stitch. This is our chain 1 stitch, does not count as a stitch. And this is the first stitch. And this time we are going to be working below both the loops of the V of the stitch. So we are going to make a single crochet first and then a puff stitch, both in this first stitch. So let's make our single crochet. Insert your hook below both the loops of the V for this row. Yarn over and pull through. Yarn over and pull through both. And now we are going to make a puff stitch in the same stitch. We're going to yarn over first. Insert our hook into the same stitch as the first single crochet. Then we're going to yarn over and pull up a long loop. We're going to yarn over again, go back to the same stitch. Yarn over and pull up a long loop. Now we're going to yarn over again and go back to the same stitch. Yarn over and pull up a long loop. So if we count the loops on our hook, we are going to have 7 now. We want to yarn over and pull through the first 6 only. So I'm going to separate the last hook, yarn over and carefully pull through the first 6 only. Now I have 2 loops left on my hook. I'm going to yarn over and pull through the last 2. And this is our very first puff stitch. Now we are going to skip the next stitch. So if we turn our work, this is the next V. We're going to skip it. And in this next stitch, we're again going to make a single crochet and a puff stitch. So we're going to insert our hook below both the loops of our V, make a single crochet. Now let's make our puff stitch. So we're going to yarn over, insert our hook into the same stitch, yarn over and pull up a long loop. So we're going to pull up long loops so that it reaches this height. We're going to do it 2 more times. Yarn over, insert into the same stitch, yarn over and pull up a long loop. 1 more time. If we count our loops, we are going to have 7. Yarn over and pull through only the first 6. We have 2 loops left on our hook, yarn over and pull through the last 2. So friends, this is going to be our pattern for this row. We are going to skip the next stitch, and in the next stitch, we are going to make a single crochet first and then a puff stitch. 1, do it again 2 and do it again 3. We have 7 loops, yarn over, pull through only the first 6. We have 2 loops, yarn over and pull through the last 2. So we're going to continue doing this till the end of the row and I'm going to meet you there. Skip the next stitch, single crochet and puff stitch in the next. Skip the next, single crochet and puff stitch in the next. So I will meet you at the very last stitch of this row. So I have 2 stitches left. I've made a single crochet and a puff stitch in this stitch, and after that I have 2 stitches left for this row. So I'm going to skip the next one, and in the very last V, we are only going to make a single crochet. We won't make a puff stitch, only a single crochet. So we're going to insert our hook. We want to go below both the loops of the V and make a single crochet. And this is the end of the row. We're going to count all our stitches and we're going to have the same number as row 1. This is the wrong side of our work. To see the puff stitches clearly, we're going to turn over to the right side, and here we can see our puff stitches. So now let's go to the next row. 7. This is also a puff stitch row. Chain 1. Turn your work. The loop on the hook is not a stitch. This is our chain 1 stitch. This is our first single crochet and we're going to start working here. So insert your hook, make a single crochet. And now we're going to make a puff stitch in the same stitch. So the puff stitch is exactly like the previous row. Yarn over, insert your hook into the same stitch, yarn over and pull up a long loop. Do it again. And do it again. Yarn over, pull through the first 6 loops carefully. We have 2 loops left, yarn over and pull through the last 2. Now we are going to skip the next stitch. So we are going to skip this next V, and in this next V we will make a single crochet and a puff stitch again. So the size of the V's is different because the puff stitch is a larger V and the single crochet is a smaller V. We are just going to skip this next V. Into this next V, we are going to make a single crochet first. So insert your hook below both the loops of the V, make a single crochet and then a puff stitch. So in the same way, we are going to continue till the end of the row. Skip the next stitch, single crochet and puff stitch in the next stitch. Skip the next stitch, single crochet and puff stitch in the next stitch. I will meet you at the last stitch. We are going to end with a single crochet. So I've reached the end of the row. This is my single crochet and puff stitch. I have only 2 stitches left. On the side here, we can see the chain stitch that does not count as a stitch. So I'm going to skip the second last stitch, and in the very last stitch, insert your hook below both the loops of the V and make a single crochet. So this is the end of the row. Now this is the right side of our work, and the puff stitches are not clear. So don't worry, for them to appear clear, we are going to have to push them. We are going to turn our work like this to the wrong side first, and then we are going to push all the puff stitches to the front. So the second row of the puff stitches will always be need to push to the front. If we turn our work, we can see all our puff stitches clearly, and if we want, we can use a stitch marker to mark the right side of our work so we know where to push our puff stitches. Let's go to row 8. We're going to chain 2 and then turn our work. So from now on, after the 2 puff rows, we're going to make our 4 half double crochet rows. The loop on the hook is not a stitch. This is our chain 2 stitch, not counting as a stitch. And in this first V, we see here, we're going to make a half double crochet or the first stitch. Yarn over, insert your hook into the back loop, make your half double crochet. Now go to the next V or the next stitch, make your back loop half double crochet. So here also the sizes of the V's are different because the single crochet has a smaller V and the puff stitch has a larger V. So make sure you don't skip any stitches. I will meet you at the end of this half double crochet row. Row 9. This is also a half double crochet row. We are going to chain 2 and then turn our work. Begin making half double crochet from the first stitch. We are going to make it in the back loop only. Continue till the end of the row and I am going to meet you there. Row 10. This is also a back loop half double crochet row. We are going to chain 2, turn the work. Start making a back loop half double crochet from the first stitch and continue till the last. So I will meet you at the end of row 10. Row 11. This is our 4th back loop half double crochet row. We are going to chain 2 and then turn our work. Begin making a back loop half double crochet from the first stitch and continue in every stitch till the last stitch. So I will meet you once we finish this row. So this is what our sweater is going to look like by now. And now we are just going to repeat the 2 puff stitch rows and the 4 back loop half double crochet rows for pattern. So 2 puff stitch rows and then 4 back loop half double crochet rows. So we are going to repeat from row 6 to row 11 for pattern. Repeat 2 puff stitch rows and then 4 half double crochet rows. And we are going to continue repeating all these rows till we reach the neck of the front panel. So I am going to show you in the photo. Continue repeating row 6 to row 11 till you reach the neck. I will meet you there. So as you can see in the image, I have finished making my front panel till the neck. Now we are going to make the back panel till the neck, and then we will make the neck of both the panels together. The back panel is very easy. So we are going to begin with the ribbing just like the front panel. So you can refer to the ribbing of the front panel. I am going to leave the timestamps below, and you can make the ribbing exactly the same as the front. So I will meet you once you finish the ribbing. So I finished making the ribbing. I am making a small patch exactly like the front. So make sure you have the same number of rows in the ribbing, which is an odd number row. Let's go to row 1. Row 1 of the back panel is exactly like the front. We are going to begin with a chain 1. Make a half double crochet at the side of all the rows of the ribbing. So starting from this first row, make a half double crochet in the first row, at the side of the second row, at the side of the next row, and at the side of every row of the ribbing, we are going to make a half double crochet till we reach the end of the row. So at the end of this row, we are going to count a half double crochet. We are going to have the same as row 1 of the front panel. Let's go to row 2. Row 2, we are going to chain 2 and then turn our work. So row 2 is exactly like the front panel as well. The loop on the hook does not count as a stitch. This is our chain 2 stitch, does not count as a stitch. We are going to begin with the half double crochet in the back loop of this first stitch. So yarn over into the back loop, make a half double crochet, and we are going to continue making a half double crochet in all the stitches in the back loop only till the end of the row. I've reached the end of row 2. We are going to count all our half double crochet. We are going to have the same as row 1. So from now on, for the back panel, we are just going to repeat row 2 for pattern. So it's like a ribbing pattern in half double crochet. Let's begin row 3. So we're just going to repeat row 2 for pattern for all the rows. We're going to chain 2 and then turn our work. The loop on the hook is not a stitch. This is not a stitch. Go to the first stitch into the back loop. Start making your half double crochet. Make a half double crochet in all the stitches till the end of the row. I will meet you once we finish this. At the end of the row, we are going to count our stitches. So for the rest of the back panel, we are just going to continue repeating row 2 till we reach the neck of the back panel. For the back panel also, we are going to continue repeating the rows till we reach the neck. The neck of the back panel is going to be a little more shallow than the front. So I'll explain to you what to do. So I'm just going to explain how to count the rows easily. This is our first puff stitch row that we have made. So we have started our repeat from here. Now before that we have made ribbing first and then a few rows of half double crochet. So these are 5 rows in all. After that we start our pattern repeat till we reach the shoulder. To find the total number of rows, we are just going to count the total number of pattern repeats that we have made. We know each repeat has 6 rows and then add 5 to it because we have started with 5 rows of back loop half double crochet and then we have started with the repeats. So I have made 7 repeats of the pattern till the neck. So I'm going to multiply 7 by 6, which is 42, and then just add 5 for the first 5 rows, which is 47. That is how I get my 47 rows. Count the total number of rows in your front panel. So I have 47 and I'm going to add 4 more rows. So add 4 rows to your front panel and that is the number of rows in the back. So when we make the back panel, we're going to have 4 more rows before we reach the neck, and when we make the neck, our neck is going to be more shallow than the front. So you can see on the screen I have finished my back panel as well. So I've finished the front and the back panel till the neck. Now let's make the neck of the front panel first and then the back panel. You can decide how big or small you want your neck to be. So we're going to bring 2 stitch markers and mark them on the front panel where we want our neck. So one here and one here. So once we mark our stitch markers, we are going to count our stitches from here till the stitch marker. We should have an odd number and we are going to count from here till the stitch marker. We should have an odd number on this side as well. So on this side and this side, we are going to have the same number and it's going to be an odd number of stitches. In the center, we will have our neck. I have left about 8 inches for the neck. So this is what my sweater looks like currently. I have left 27 stitches on this side and 27 stitches on this side, and my neck is in the center. So we are going to leave a gap for the neck and mark our stitch markers. I have left a little over 8 inches as my neck and then marked my stitch markers. So this is the last row I have made of the front panel and I have reached the neck now. Now we are not going to cut off this yarn. We are going to continue with the same yarn. We are going to mark our stitch markers for the neck, and then for the next row we are going to chain 1 and turn our work. We are going to continue with the 2 puff stitch rows. So now we are going to chain 1 and then turn our work for the puff stitch row. Once we turn our work, we are going to only work till this first stitch marker here. Then we are going to chain 1 and turn our work again. So we are not going to work in the center part. After we finish this first shoulder, we will make the second shoulder here. So we will leave the gap for the neck. So we know how to make the puff stitch row. The loop on the hook is not a stitch. This is a chain 1 stitch, not counting as a stitch. In this first stitch, we are going to make a single crochet first and then a puff stitch. Now we are going to skip this next stitch. In the next stitch, we are going to make a single crochet and then a puff stitch. Now we are just going to continue the puff stitch row. Skip the next stitch, single crochet and puff stitch in the next stitch, skip the next stitch, single crochet and puff stitch in the next stitch, and continue till the stitch marker. In the last stitch here, we are going to end with a single crochet. So I've reached the end of the row. I've made a single crochet and a puff stitch. I'm going to skip this next stitch, and in my last stitch with the stitch marker, I'm going to make a single crochet to end the row. Now we are going to make another puff stitch row. So we are going to chain 1 and then turn our work. So now we are going to work in this direction like this because we want to leave the gap for the neck open. So turn the work. Now let's begin our second puff stitch row. We're going to start with a single crochet in the first stitch, then a puff stitch in the same stitch. We're going to skip this next stitch, and in the next stitch we're going to make a single crochet and then a puff stitch. So in the same way we're going to continue, skip the next stitch, single crochet and puff stitch in the next stitch till we reach the last stitch, and we're going to end with a single crochet in the last stitch. Finish the second puff stitch row, and to see the puff stitches clearly we're going to turn our work and push these puff stitches to the front. So once we push all the puff stitches to the front, we'll be able to see them more clearly. We are going to go to our 4 half double crochet rows. So we are going to chain 2 and then turn our work. Start with a half double crochet in this first stitch. We are going to go into the back loop, make a half double crochet. Make a half double crochet in the next stitch. So we are going to continue making half double crochets till we reach the stitch marker here. So this is what my work looks like after finishing this first half double crochet row. You want to count your stitches and make sure you have the same number as the first row. We are going to make 3 more half double crochet rows in the same way that we did before. So we are going to chain 2, turn our work, half double crochet in the back loop of all the stitches. So once we finish 3 more rows of half double crochet, I will meet you there. Once we finish all the shoulder rows, we are going to leave about 25 inches of the yarn, or a little more than double the shoulder length. So you can see I've just folded the yarn like this, and then we are going to cut it. So we're going to use this yarn to sew both the shoulders together. Cutting, we're going to pull out a loop, so just tug on your hook. After finishing this first shoulder, we're going to come to the second side, and this side we're going to start working on the wrong side. So you can see the puff stitches face backward. When you turn your work, on the other side you can see the right side of the puff stitches. So we're going to start here. We're going to attach our yarn at this stitch marker, and we're going to make our first row in this direction. So on the wrong side at this stitch marker where the neck is, we are going to attach our yarn. So leave a gap for the neck in the center, and then at this second stitch marker we are going to attach our yarn. We're going to take our yarn in a loop form. Insert a hook where you want to attach the yarn in the stitch with a stitch marker. Catch the yarn on the hook and then pull it through. After we do that, we're going to chain 1. Now we are going to make a single crochet in the same stitch. So insert your hook, make a single crochet. So in the same stitch with the stitch marker, we are going to make a puff stitch next. Now you are going to continue the rest of the puff stitch row. Skip the next stitch, single crochet and puff stitch in the next stitch. Skip the next stitch, single crochet and puff stitch in the next stitch. Continue to the last stitch. We're going to end with a single crochet in the last stitch. So I've finished my first puff stitch row. We're going to count all our stitches and make sure we have the same as the other shoulder. Now we're just going to continue the rest of the shoulder exactly like the first shoulder. We will make another puff stitch row and then 4 back loop half double crochet rows. So I will meet you once you finish the shoulder as well. Once we finish the second shoulder, it has the same number of rows as the first shoulder. We're going to leave about 25 inches of the yarn the same way as the first shoulder, then cut the yarn and then pull out a loop. So let's come to the back panel now. We have finished repeating all the rows, and this is where I have ended. So we're not going to cut off the yarn, and just like the front, we're going to continue with the neck. Remember, the back has 4 more rows than the front. Also, we are going to mark the stitch markers in exactly the same place as we did for the front panel. So we are going to have an odd number of stitches on this side, odd number of stitches on this side, and they're going to be the same on this side as well on this side. So chain 2 first and then turn the work. So we're going to start making a half double crochet here and end at the first stitch marker here. In the center we will have our neck. So we're going to make the shoulder first, just like the front panel. So we're going to start with a half double crochet in this first stitch. the chain 2 does not count as a half double crochet. Continue making a half double crochet in all the back loops till we reach the stitch marker. I will meet you there. So finish the row, and at the end of the row, we are going to count all our stitches. We are going to have the same number as the front panel. So let's make row 2. We are going to chain 2 and then turn our work. So once we turn, we are going to remember to work from this first stitch. So in the back loop, make a half double crochet. Make a half double crochet in all the stitches till the end of the row, and I will meet you there. We are working only into the back loop. So for the neck of the back panel, we are only going to make 2 rows. This is because we have already made extra rows below. The neck is going to be shallow. Now after we finish row 1 and row 2 of the neck, we are going to leave about 4 to 5 inches of the yarn and then cut it. Then we are going to pull out a loop by tugging on the hook. So this is the first shoulder that we have made for the back. In the center we have our neck, and we are going to attach the yarn for the neck shoulder at this stitch marker. So it's going to be exactly like the front. We are going to attach the yarn here, move in this direction, make row 1, then we are going to turn back and make row 2 of the neck. So this is the wrong side of my work, and this is where I'm going to attach the yarn at this second stitch marker of the neck. So we're going to turn our work, see the V clearly, and attach our yarn only into the back loop. So insert your hook into the back loop of the stitch with the stitch marker, catch the yarn in a loop form on your hook and pull it through. After we do that, we're going to chain 2. Now this is not going to count as a stitch. We're going to go back to the back loop of the same stitch with the stitch marker and make a half double crochet. So this is our first half double crochet. In the next stitch in the back loop, make another half double crochet. Now we're going to continue our row normally till the end, and I will meet you there. Finish row 1, we're going to count all our stitches and make sure we have the same number as the other shoulder. Row 2, we're going to chain 2 and then turn our work. So now we're just going to make back loop half double crochet till the stitch marker. I will meet you once we finish row 2. So once we finish the second shoulder, we're going to leave about 4 to 5 inches of this yarn, cut it and pull out a loop exactly like the first shoulder. So both the shoulders have only 2 rows on the back panel. Let's begin with the ribbing of the sleeve. We are going to make a slip knot first. We are going to chain 22 for this ribbing. This ribbing is going to be longer than the front and the back panel. So chain 1, 2, continue till you have 22. From now on, the rows are same as the front and the back panel ribbing. We are going to begin with a single crochet in the second chain from the hook. So insert your hook, make your single crochet. Make a single crochet in the next chain. Continue making single crochets till the end of this row, and I'm going to meet you there. At the end of the row, if we count our stitches, we are going to have 21. Let's go to row 2. So we know how to make row 2 of the ribbing. We are going to chain 1, turn our work. Begin with a single crochet in the back loop of the first single crochet. Continue making back loop single crochet till the end of this row. So I've reached the end of the row. Our stitch count is going to remain the same as row 1, which is 21. From now on, we're just going to repeat row 2 for pattern. We already know how to do this. So we're going to repeat row 2. I just want to show you, when we make the ribbing, we are making it like this. So we have made row 2. We are going to continue all the rows, keep repeating row 2 till we reach around our wrist here. So first we will make a rectangle. For the sleeve, it doesn't matter if we end our ribbing at an odd or an even row. So we are going to increase the ribbing later. That's why it doesn't matter. We want to make sure that the ribbing fits around our wrist. So I'm going to meet you once you finish all the repeats and reach the end of the ribbing. I've finished my ribbing rows now. I have 31 rows. Now this fits around my wrist. So I just want to show you. This is the ribbing. It's going to be a little snug now and it will loosen up after wearing it. And now we are going to make the rows. Row 1. This is exactly like the front panel. We are going to begin with a chain 1, then half double crochet in the same row. Now we are going to make one half double crochet in all the rows. So I will meet you once we finish making this half double crochet row. So like the front panel, between these two ridges, there are going to be 2 half double crochet. I will meet you once we finish. So this is the end of row 1. If we count our half double crochet, same number of rows that we have made for the ribbing. Row 2, we are going to chain 2 and then turn our work. Now row 2 is going to be a little different. It is going to be an increase row. So the loop on the hook is not a stitch. This is our chain 2. Beginning in this first stitch, we are going to make 2 half double crochet in the back loop of this first stitch. Make 1 and 2 in the same stitch. In every stitch, we are going to make 2 half double crochet in the back loop. So yarn over, this is the next stitch, make 1, yarn over, we are going to go back to the same stitch, make 2. So don't worry if these stitches stretch out a little. They're going to become okay once we make the next few rows. This is the third stitch. We're going to make 1 and 2. So in the same way, we're going to continue making 2 half double crochet in every stitch till the end of the row, and I will meet you there. So I've reached the end of row 2. I've made 2 half double crochet in all the stitches till the very last stitch. So this is my last V or my last stitch. In this, we are only going to make 1 half double crochet. This is because we want to end the row at an odd number. So yarn over into the last stitch, make a half double crochet. Make sure you end the row with only 1 half double crochet. In all the other stitches, we have 2 half double crochet. And at the end of the row, we are going to have an odd number of stitches. So this was our last increase row, and from now on there are going to be no more increases. So the stitch count is going to remain the same as row 2 in all the rows of the sleeve from now on. Row 3, we are going to chain 2 and then turn our work. Now row 3 is also a back loop half double crochet row, and we are only going to make 1 half double crochet in every stitch. So we'll start making half double crochet from the first stitch. Make 1 in the first, 1 in the second, 1 in the third, and so on till the end of the row. I will meet you there. So I've finished row 3. The stitch count is going to remain the same as row 2 for the entire sleeve from now. So in row 3, we have the same number of half double crochet as row 2. Row 4, we're going to chain 2 and then turn our work. This is also a back loop half double crochet row. We want to start making a back loop half double crochet from the first stitch and make a back loop half double crochet in every stitch till the last stitch. I will meet you there. So make sure you don't skip any. So I've reached the end of row 4. We have an odd number of stitches. Let's go to row 5. Chain 2 and then turn the work. So row 5 is also a back loop half double crochet row. Starting from the first stitch, we're going to make a half double crochet in the back loop of all the stitches till the very last stitch. So I will meet you at the end of the row. So I've finished 5 rows in all, and this is what my sleeve looks like right now. Now for the rest of the pattern of the sleeve, our repeat rows are going to be exactly like the front panel. We are going to repeat row 6 to row 11 of the front panel. So we are going to make 2 rows of puff stitches and then 4 rows of back loop half double crochet. It's exactly like the front panel, only the stitch count here will be different because we have started with a different number of stitches. We are going to repeat row 6 to row 11 till we reach about 16 to 17 inches of the sleeve, or however long we want our sleeve to be. So I'm going to meet you once we finish all the repeats. So I've reached the last row of my sleeve. So if we want, we can make decreases in this last row, or we can just make the last row normally. So what I mean is, after the 2 puff stitch rows, we make 4 half double crochet rows. So in the 4th half double crochet row, you can either make it normally with no decreases, or you can add a few decreases. So I have added a few decreases, and let me show you how to do it. So this is my 4th back loop half double crochet row. We're going to chain 2 and then turn our work. So we're going to begin with the half double crochet in this first half double crochet. we're going to make 7 more half double crochet. So we will have 8 in all, counting this first one. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 and 8. So I've counted the first half double crochet and I have 8 in all. And next we are going to make a decrease. To make a half double crochet decrease, we are going to yarn over, insert a hook into the next stitch, yarn over and pull up a loop. We are going to yarn over again, insert a hook into the next stitch, yarn over and pull up a loop. We have 5 loops on our hook. We are going to yarn over and pull through all 5. So this is a half double crochet decrease. Now starting from this next stitch, we are going to make 8 half double crochet and then we will make a decrease. So after the decrease, I have made 8 half double crochet and now we are going to make another decrease. To make the decrease, we are going to yarn over, insert a hook into the next stitch, yarn over and pull up a loop. Now we are going to stop making the stitch, go to the next stitch, yarn over, insert a hook into the next stitch, yarn over and pull up a loop. Once we have 5 loops on our hook, we are going to yarn over and pull through all 5. And now we are going to continue with the 8 half double crochet. So once we finish the 8 half double crochet, we will make another decrease and continue in the same way till the end of the row. Now it doesn't matter whether we end the row at a decrease or a half double crochet, and it doesn't matter how many stitches we have in this last row. So after we finish the entire sleeve, we are going to leave a long piece of yarn. It should be 30 to 35 inches and we are going to cut it and then we are going to pull the loop out. So tug on the hook and pull out a loop. My sleeve is now finished. It is about 16 inches in length. In the same way as the first sleeve, we are going to make another sleeve. Make sure all the rows have the same number of stitches and you make the same number of rows for the sleeve, so both are exactly the same. So now we are ready to attach both the sleeves to the sweater. The written pattern along with the stitch counts has been linked below. The part 2 of the tutorial has been linked on the screen and in the description below. We will join all the parts together in part 2 and make the ribbing for the neck. Thank you so much for watching and see you in part 2.